Good morning, folks. This is Bob in the house talking about a subject that isn't going away. And let me tell you, this is a very small article, but it's a small article in Indian Express. Nobody else played it, but it's the first time ever. FBI chief set to visit next week NIA to discuss evidence against Pannu, and almost every day in every newspaper, somewhere along the line, we have this up front and center. And we'll talk about that a little later. And talk a little bit more about it. Then you have this whole stuff that, good cop, bad cop. We have mature ties, work through differences, deputy NSA. US-India ties have been complicated and not always wholly aligned. They're actually not really aligned, okay? Then you have another one that came out today. Must hold assassination plotters accountable, says the United States. We are deepening strategic partnerships with India. John Kirby, National Security Spokesman. White House Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner took up with India the probe into an alleged foiled plot to assassinate Khalistani separatists. Pannu wanted for violations of Indian law, says MEA. That ain't going far. That does not in any way justify, in my view, process of elimination through extrajudicial process like assassinations, both of Niger and Canada, especially not in a friend's house, nor in India, not in the United States. The other thing is, why is Khalistan up front and center? It's really more or less dead. It's been reinvented as a bogey post the farmer agitation. Is there something else to it? Is it like, for example, Indira Gandhi did this whole process and a short-term measure to win the elections and kind of weaken the Akalis and the other Punjab parties? Is there something else here, right? EAM, US Pannu inputs impact our national security. Really, Mr. Jaishankar, I really don't think so. Can't equate inputs from US, Canada on plot, says center. It's really funny, and this is what Jaishankar says, right? But it's not true, because the indictment clearly says that this fellow who was talking to, just remember, the shocking part is that the Drug Enforcement Agency, which is one of the most independent agencies in the United States, caught this. That means they were actually not tracking plotting to kill. They were actually tracking drugs. And you do remember, huge drug hauls in Mundra, huge drug hauls, $2 billion. You really don't know where that went. That's where the DEA comes in. So what else do they have to expose? One doesn't know, but this is just an offshoot of that, right? They were being tracked for drugs, not for assassinations. Assassinations just landed there and showed how dumb our agencies are, how ill-equipped for this kind of stuff our agencies are. Right? So, US confirms Deputy NSA raised Pannu issue with Indian officials. US Deputy NSA raises Pannu cases with officials in India. And then you have this. You remember, the United States is a critical component of our national security as far as China is concerned, as far as the Indian Ocean. And you see that from this, right? Eye on China, US gives $553 million for Adani's Colombo port project. This is to counter the Hamanbota. Then, India, US to focus on defense tech ties and 2+2 talks tomorrow, right? How do you do this? When you're expecting so much from the United States, you're actually out there only because of China. And this is what happens to most of us. Say, oh, well, we are the best, we are the biggest. That is delusional. Because as Swaminathan Iyer says, political problems cannot be solved by assassinations. He says cynics will say that all great powers carry out assassinations. The US has killed many and tried 8 times to assassinate Fidel Castro. Israel and Russia have assassinated foes too. But did such assassinations ever solve a problem? No. They maybe created new martyrs. James Bond inspired many hit films but never solved a problem. Let us learn from that, okay? Then also our agencies need to get a lot better, right? And Seema Zaroi writes a real funny one. Agent CC1, a supari gone wrong. She says, someone please tell CC1 that New York is not Mirzapur, that he needs to go to basic spy school, to say nothing about enrolling in Foreign Policy 101. This is a joke, right? The indictment doesn't identify CC1, a kindness of sorts, except to describe him as a senior field officer dealing with security and intelligence matters. Where to begin to tell the story of CC1's delusions to be a Desi James Bond? Delusion, and I can tell you, delusional, okay? And all these armchair friends of mine, oh, we should be able to do it. We can't do it. You don't have the ability to do it, okay? If we did have the ability to do it, what happened to Dawood Ibrahim, right? Unless, of course, Dawood Ibrahim, for some reason, these guys favor. You don't know, folks. Is he a double agent then? Amateur R doesn't begin to describe what followed in full view and listing a range of US intelligence agencies as the two men plotted to eliminate New York-based Gurpratap Singh Pannu. They made a smooth landing in the laps of an American informant and an undercover agent. Reason: Gupta was already on the US radar thanks to their primitive methods. Not only was a link established to Hardeep Singh Nijjar killing in Canada, Pannu became a minor celebrity. But your wild adventures activated the most storied of US court districts, the Southern District of New York, which includes Manhattan and therefore the highest level baddies. The US attorney for the district, along with other agencies, has filed murder for hire charges against Gupta. The charges have merely accusations at this stage, but were deemed serious enough for a trial, okay? The immediate task for New Delhi is damage control and to insulate the larger relationship. Washington will be supportive in public but tough in private. While the US wouldn't want to hurt the strategic partnership at times of great geopolitical jeopardy, it won't let go of the matter either. India skeptics are out in public asking whether India belongs with the real friends of US or with likes of Turkey and Saudi Arabia. Probably with the likes of Turkey and Saudi Arabia. I don't know, folks. Time has come for an intelligence reboot, as Prashant Jha writes. Allegations raised by Ottawa and Washington must lead to systemic correctives, particularly when it comes to the nature and functioning of intelligence agencies. Well, I don't think they can really function at all, right? And this lands right at the top. There is, however, no other way to put it. The allegations implicating an Indian official in a plot to kill Gurpratap Pannu in the backdrop of Canada's allegations linking agents of the government of India with the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar do not reflect well on the Indian national security state in general and intelligence agencies in particular. They expose the hubris of whoever sanctioned the operation and the incompetence of those who executed it. If true, they also show poor judgment about interstate relations, India's comprehensive national power, and the costs and benefits associated with such an operation. This writes Prashant Jha. What do we learn? The first is the covert operations that entail targeted assassinations must be the last resort, always, irrespective of the geographies and the nature of the threat. The second is a clinical assessment of the power dynamic, which we didn't do. We thought we were just bigger than ourselves. The third is balancing the imperatives of secrecy and the recognition that as India's profile grows, so will international scrutiny from both friendly and adversarial governments and the international public sphere. The fourth is renewing a discussion on both legal basis of raw and legislative accountability of intelligence agencies. And finally, there must be very careful personnel management of agencies, and this includes both at the level of leadership as well as operatives. But here's what George of the Washington Post has to write. For India and the US, a plot that could destroy a partnership. This is an editorial. When India's Prime Minister Modi visited the White House on June 22nd for a meeting with Biden, he declared in a joint news conference for the two nations, even the sky is not the limit. Such enthusiasm was warranted, but now Mr. Modi must address that charges that before, during and after his trip, an Indian government employee plotted to assassinate a Sikh separatist and American citizen on US soil. It doesn't work, folks. He says, this has crossed a red line for the United States, a grave affront to a sovereignty that demands an honest and complete investigation with the perpetrators brought to justice and all the facts made known. Any foot dragging or cover up will weigh down upon all the worthy efforts to build a strategic partnership. Let me just tell you, this was a plot. It was a plot because when this Gupta fellow was talking to this DEA agent he was talking about from where this comes, there are many more assassinations to come. So it is a plot. So that's wrong. Secondly, you got to understand is, do you know that raw agents have been sent home from Australia, the United Kingdom, and Canada, and the guy, and San Francisco, and the Washington guy, which had come back, no new person is being allowed to be impounded. A damning a front, and something that will happen is we will just remember, we don't have this ability to get information. We still rely 95% on the United States and its satellite system, for all those who think otherwise, right? And then for China is also up the creek, right? We got to get our act together with this as far as this goes. China is up to creek, as Harsh Pant writes. As Thursday, no joint statement, EU-China summit attests, Europe is de-risking its Beijing ties. Accompanying these country-level strategies is a range of defensive measures that the EU has put in place. These include two-way screenings of investments, an coercion mechanism under the umbrella of its de-risking approach. At the same time, Europe is attempting to diversify its trade partners and supply chains in favor of more like-minded nations in Asia, Latin America, and elsewhere, India being one of them, right? So what do we have? Why more Chinese are risking danger in southern border crossings to the US? That's first. Why more Chinese are risking danger to enter US? So here's the thing, right? Not just the Indians. This just sows stress and strife, right? Chinese credit blacklist swells to 8.5 million people as default breaks records. Then you have renminbi falls to 16-year low as slowing exports weigh on recovery. She should learn from Ukraine's battlefield. The US remains ready to support long wars with strategic patience. Now, this is what I said, right? While it looks like Ukraine has been hung out to dry, but it is sapping Russia dry just like it did in Afghanistan. So the same thing, if China attempts in Taiwan, the same thing is going to come in play. And the Western nations, the other one that's moving the iceberg is Italy. Only major Western nation to join Italy leaves China's Belt and Road Initiative. And then you have the melody in India-Italy ties. Right after that, this is Subhajit Roy. After a decade of setbacks, New Delhi and Rome have worked hard to repair relations. Italy's changing views on China have added a strategic dimension to the ties based on ancient links and thriving trade. Hey, but Putin is out there trying to make a point, often surprised by Modi's tough stance on national security, says Putin. Russia, Saudi urge OPEC plus powers to join oil cuts after Putin MBS meet. So the problem with Putin is he can't let oil slide, which seems to have slid to $17, because that's the only thing he has to fund its war, right? Ukraine aid for border security would be a win-win. This is in the United States. This is in Washington Post. Putin's drone swarms are no match for sharpshooters trained in Britain. Not only that, this long-range rifle is causing a whole bunch of problems, because you have these sharpshooters sitting all across 5 or 6 of them, and they can almost hold a regiment down from the other side. Blinken slams Israel on Gaza civilian toll as Arab states renew truce push. Israel doubles strikes at war and enters third month. UN agency says relief faltering. US-Israel earlier opposed ceasefire, saying it would only help Hamas. But things are getting tough, folks. I'm not sure how long the patience will last for the United States. Gaza civilians, Israel moral responsibility, Lloyd Austin. So thick and fast. US, Austin, Israel risks strategic defeat if it doesn't protect civilians. I think it's already done that. US, Israel trying to minimize civilian security. At one time it says Israel trying to minimize civilian security casualties. I don't think so. Indian envoy to meet former Navy men on Qatar death row after PM Emir talks. Now here's Qatar. Critical. The United States is going to be, believe me, critical for of some relief to these guys. No equitable treatment. US gave inputs, Canada didn't, says Jaishankar. Well, now you know. He can keep saying all that. Now you know why Canada couldn't, and now it's out in the open. The inputs are all there. Modi pitches as host of COP33 in 2028. And you see, this is what is playing out in the Middle East. This is happening in UAE. South, right? Israeli ground forces operating in all of Gaza as refugee camps targeted. Is just getting worse, right? US tells Israel fighting style must be more surgical. Like I said, right? Controversies aside, COP28 is a real chance to put Global South at the center and India in the center of it. And what do you get out of that? Innovation in climate technologies in the Global South must be encouraged. In particular, green startups should be supported by creating effective knowledge sharing mechanism with the UNFCCC and establishing social impact fund to support promising green projects. Finally, it is crucial to diversify and make green technology value chains accessible to all. Presently, China holds disproportionate Control over the new materials and technology is vital for green energy. It is critical to break free from the monopoly and ensure that Beijing does not wield a veto over our green future. Absolutely. And just remember, folks, nearer to home, Northeast is in trouble because of the continuing strife in Manipur, influx, and Myanmar, an influx of refugees into Mizoram, change of government in Mizoram, and Myanmar is losing the plot. The fight against the Janta, the opposition is winning. In Bhutan, there's trouble because there seems to be, we are wondering whether finally an ambassador, Chinese ambassador will be appointed there. What happens to Doklam? Sri Lanka, and Maldives, they're asking us to leave the platforms, and these guys making statements of that Indian Ocean, all the nations. What do you mean? What does he mean by all the nations? We've got to get dumbed down on Maldives, folks. It was a mistake made again, due to, hubris. We've let it slip out of our hands after getting it back. But hey, focus was somewhere else. 3 cheers, Jai Hind. But right now, the most critical relationship continues to be the United States, and we really cannot afford to rock the boat. For India and the US, a plot that could destroy a partnership, and you definitely don't want that. 3 cheers and Jai Hind.